Yellow is the 30-second warning. The red is the time to stop. We will begin with the opening statements. Ms. Sahagun-Garcia.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the Chamber, the Uptown Association for holding this forum. Well, my name is Lupe Sahagun-Garcia, obviously, and I'm running for Whittier City Council Chamber. Now, I've been a Whittier resident for 34 years. I have a business background. I run a small business. It's an adult residential facility for developmentally disabled adults, which I run and owned with my husband for 21 years. I'm a mother of 5 children, all of whom have been born and raised in Whittier, have gone to local schools in the district, which we're very proud of. They've done very well. And a couple of them have gone on to Whittier College with some scholarships there. Basically, what I wanted to start off with was, people are probably wondering why I decided to run. Because I'm just a regular resident of Whittier, busy mom. You know, do I have other things to keep busy with? Yes, I do, plenty. But I found it very important to run and to have the people's voice heard. I got involved with this oil project, and I was kind of unsettled about the things I was hearing about in regard to this oil project. So I took the initiative to do my own research and pull public records requests from City Hall. And I've been doing that for 2.5 years now. And I indeed found out that our city has not been transparent with its constituents. This program indeed was, or project indeed was in the works since 2006. I have the emails and everything to verify the information I'm telling you about. So basically that was one of my main reasons to want to run for city council. I came across many, many records and much detailed information that I did not feel was representative of people. My mic's not. No, it's on.
Lost the mic.
Thank you, Jim. So basically, I wanted to be able to run and bring transparency back to City Hall. There's a lot of things that I also see with the Uptown Whittier and basically Whittier's economics that I would like to help bring businesses to Whittier. Much improvement is needed, and there's very much potential for Whittier, but I feel a new voice has to be brought into Whittier. Thank you.
The city seems to have done an admirable job of recovering from the economic crisis of past years. But with redevelopment agencies disbanded, the economic future looks bleak, at least to a lot of us. A 2-part question. If elected, what will be your principal priority, and how do you propose to pay for it?
If elected, my principal priority would be to maintain the quality of life and enhance safety, public safety for the community. As stated before, that our city is basically running on sales tax, property taxes, and also on utility taxes. However, I think it's very important to build the business sector. We need to bring quality businesses to Whittier with incentive programs and making it easier for them to come into Whittier. We've heard from many businesses in the community that are running their businesses right now and that it was very difficult to actually start up their businesses. Another thing I would definitely really want to make a main point on is that there are 3 pending lawsuits against this oil revenue project, which our city council members think is going to save Whittier from its economic crisis. They're very solid lawsuits. The last one was filed February 24th, 2012 by the Mountains Recreation and Conservation Authority, which is a state agency. They also included in their lawsuit an injunction and a restraining order. That's how strongly they feel that this process was not done properly. I also want to mention that if in fact it should pass, their money will not go to the city's general fund because there are restrictions through Proposition A that deem the money needs to go back to only open space. And with that, I challenge and I ask the council, which I have asked the city, to produce the documents that supports their argument that the money will be used for the city coffers. There is no such document. I want the public to be clearly aware of that. I also suggest that you do the same and do your research. Don't just believe everything you hear. Obviously, there's special interests involved, and I want that to be clear. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to take what you feel is Uptown's greatest asset, and how would you strengthen and preserve that asset?
Well, I think Uptown's greatest asset is its uniqueness and the quality, the quaintness and the quality of, and charm that it has. As far as foot patrols, like Owen said, I think that's a great idea. However, I think it would be more economically viable if we had that run by volunteers. You can have volunteer hosts that can service the same need without having any costs to the city or to the Uptown Association. It'd take a little coordination, but it could be done. The other thing I would like to say is that it would be essential to market Uptown to businesses such as the ones that have made Pasadena, Claremont, Monrovia, and all the other little cities that have their nice little uptown areas. We need to model after them. We could have been the example of that, but after the earthquake in '87, I don't know why there was such hesitation for our city to move forward and redevelop it. It basically sat there unbuilt, unpromoted, and I'm not sure as to why. And the other thing is that the money was there in redevelopment funding. It's been sitting there, and it's been millions and millions of dollars that were just sitting in city funds, redevelopment funds, which our city didn't utilize. Then obviously the state decided to take those funds back, and then our city started scrambling to try to figure out how to use that money before they had to give it back. My question is, why didn't they use it when they should have? They had plenty of years to use that money and the way it was meant to be, and they did not do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Uptown parking structure is essential and needs modifications. The two-part question. Will you support extending hours of operation and opening the structure on Sundays? And are you willing to allocate funds to remodel the restrooms and to improve the facade with a facelift?
Yes, to both things. And as Nick mentioned, having the parking structure open on Sunday would be very, very important. We've been up there and there's nowhere to park. The parking structure's closed, which I think is a deterrent for people. They just drive around, find no parking, and end up going elsewhere. As far as the funding for these things, it would need to be tax-based, obviously. If we increase our revenues and our businesses coming into Whittier, we can use money from that as well. But I also have an idea that we should hire in the city of Whittier an economic development professional. This person is specialized in soliciting federal funding and grants for these types of projects. And if, obviously that's something that the city will have to decide upon unanimously. But we also have a fund, and that basically is called a discretionary fund that the city manager has. The money in there can also be used for purposes necessary, deemed, and hopefully our city manager, at his discretion, will choose to use them wisely. It's about $1.24 million. I think that would definitely help. Thank you. Here we go. Sorry. My idea for the Nels project would be ideally a mixed use for that. As far as details as to what would be a balanced project, I'm not a specialist on that, and obviously we have people the developers that would present to the city what proposals that we'll have at that time. And as far as funding that project, well, yeah, a lot of the money was set aside in the redevelopment funds that were earmarked to help that project get through its phases. However, that money's gone, and I'm hoping that our city was able to write up a plan. When they were notified about the redevelopment agencies being dissolved, they had opportunity to submit to an oversight board so that they could determine which funds could be allocated or kept Now, as to how and if they did so productively, I don't know. We will find out. And these claims, if they were substantial enough and supported the reasons or the cause they needed the funds for, the state basically will let the city know by April 15th. And there was also AB 27 which passed, which allows the community to continue to undertake development projects and activities that are required by state law. And that also depends on our city's internal mechanisms and people that know the proper processes. If they were knowledgeable enough and able to fulfill those requirements, then a lot of the redevelopment money would actually be able to stay within the city. So I'm hoping that they were capable, knowledgeable, and did so. Thank you.
Would you recommend or consider a dog park?
Yes, I definitely would recommend and consider a dog park. I feel that a dog park has been something that our community's been needing for a much needed amount of time. There are places in our community that people had prior to, I guess, the school being closed off. They would congregate at some of the local schools, but since all the schools started having to put fences up, and obviously for security measures, then that obviously restricted many residents from going to these local schools. As far as any ideas of where that may happen, I personally am hoping that we can facilitate that 2-acre parcel where this oil project is supposed to be taking place. I know my dog loves going into the hills, and I think that would be an ideal place for that to happen. Thank you.
I'm going to stumble with everybody's name intentionally this next round. What specifically would you do to attract more businesses to Whittier, and what would you do to retain them?
Well, to attract them, obviously, there would be incentives. What those particular incentives would be, I would find out what those are once I'm elected city councilwoman. I would have my city manager inform me on all the specifics as to what incentives are applicable. And I would make it easier for them as far as maybe different types of creative ways they can promote their businesses. Right now, a lot of the business owners are very limited as to the creativity they can use to promote their businesses. So I would like to work with the business owners and help them be able to promote themselves and increase revenues and keep them happy and have them stay in Whittier and not leave like Rockabilly, Ricks that just left because our city gave us such a hard time. Basically what it came to was that the landowner, okay, sorry.
Thank you. What is your vision or plan to strengthen our nonprofit institutions in Whittier?
My vision for the nonprofits to be strengthened in Whittier obviously is volunteerism. Volunteerism, I feel, is a key component of a strong community base which would support the city in general. There are many organizations that are basically run by volunteers. So I strongly would recommend that, and I would recommend that the city help to promote these nonprofit agencies by publicizing them and by publicizing their specific strengths and services that they will be able to support the community with. And people will listen to the city and will want to then therefore make private contributions which will help sustain 501c3s. Thank you.
What more can be done to prevent glass etching in Uptown and graffiti throughout Whittier?
Well, first of all, and I'm just going to sound repetitious here, but my consensus is also the lighting is a key element. And the trees are also part of the problem. The trees have been snow overgrown. I believe that we would probably have to have the city start doing a cutting down of trees, which I'm not usually in favor of, but I think this is part of the problem and part of the solution, is we would have to chop every other tree so that the lighting can actually light up the streets, because with the tree tops right now existently, they block a lot of the lighting, and obviously the lighting also can be improved. And yes, almost every storefront has etching on it. I've been up and down Greenleaf. Almost, I think I can. I don't even think I can name a storefront that doesn't have any etching on it. That would be more accurate. And as far as the element there, I mean, they're there. People don't usually like going to Uptown because they don't feel safe. Once that element's gone, then I'm sure Uptown will regenerate.
Thank you.
The things I would like to bring to Uptown to promote safety would be the mode of volunteerism. To have people that want to volunteer in the community to be walking and obviously not paid. These would be volunteers that would save the city some funding. But they basically would be the eyes and ears for the police. And it would also be great to have, depending on the budgetary restrictions of the police department, it would be nice to have some police foot patrols as well. And not just on a few hours, but a regular basis, because it's true. The folks that hang out there and are a bad element, they don't want to be around if there's police. They want to be left alone. They'll, go elsewhere, but they won't hang out on the strip there, and it'll definitely make it prettier. Another thing I want to throw in there is I would like to see Uptown made prettier by maybe planting flowers in the flower beds and making it look prettier, more attractive.
Thank you.
Yes, before making my closing statement, I want to be clear and I want to readdress the issue of the oil project. There, in fact, it was mentioned earlier that they followed the CEQA process. However, the CEQA process is also in the lawsuit because they did not follow CEQA processes properly. And also they said that the negotiations with LA County were continuing. However, they are not. I've spoken to officials of LA County and they say there will be no negotiations until after the 3 lawsuits have been determined and come to a conclusion. So I want people to be clear that and not be misled to think that there are negotiations in the process. There are none. What I want to bring to the City Council, if I'm elected, is I want to bring new leadership to our city. I want to bring true transparency to our City Hall, and I want to listen to the people and represent their concerns. I can add new dimension and diversity to our City Council, as well as represent a large majority of our population whose priorities are to keep their families safe. I want to help to market our city to businesses, making it more business friendly. In order for there to be progress and growth, there needs to be change. And I can make that change happen, as well as with the other challengers that are running. I want people to live, work, shop, and hike in Whittier as well. I'm an avid promoter of the hills and of the preservation of the hills. I'm a docent and Habitat Trail Watch volunteer as well. And I'm a board member of the Friends of the Whittier Hills. And I've also been endorsed by the Los Angeles League of Conservation Voters and the LA County Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO, which I think are major endorsements, and I think that weighs in a lot, and people should know this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.